Most people think an active shooter event will never happen here. But in reality, an active shooter event can happen anywhere. In the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to dissect active shooter events and prepare you and your coworkers to deal with one of the most horrendous incidents imaginable. My name is Denise, and I'll be with you along the way to review some key elements of the training and guide you through each section. Let's begin. In May of 2013, 19 people were wounded during a Mother's Day parade shooting in New Orleans. A gunman walked into a Phoenix office building and shot 3 workers in January of 2013. July 20th, 2012, a heavily armed gunman opened fire at a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, killing 12 and wounding dozens more. A gunman opened fire on December 14th, 2012, at an elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut, killing nearly 30 people, mostly children. We all must be prepared.
This kind of horrific event can happen anywhere.
Unfortunately, there are bad people out there.
We cannot rely on the stupidity of our enemies because our enemies are resourceful, they're bright, and fight unfairly.
The active shooter probably has plenty of ammunition. The active shooter has plenty of magazines.
So you need to be prepared.
If you find yourself in an incident of active shooter, active assailant, react, escape, survive.
React to the threat.
You want to understand something is happening.
And that there's a potential for danger.
I heard a gunshot.
Once you've recognized I'm in this situation, you have to do something
to escape the threat.
You want to get out of the building at all costs, and you want to survive.
Survive the threat.
You want to do that for you, your family, and for others.
By the time that first panic 911 call comes in till the first officers arrive on scene is about 14 minutes on average.
This video is set up to help you mitigate those 14 minutes of what to do before the law enforcement gets there.
So have a plan.
We don't teach police response strategies, we don't teach military response strategies, and we don't teach fighting strategies. We teach common sense approach to safety.
The key is you have to take action.
In the law enforcement and military community, we've learned to be good observers. We focus on anything out of place or unusual. Guys wearing long trench coats in warm weather, people who don't look you in the eye, those who ask inappropriate or strange questions regarding security, or they just don't seem normal. There are indicators for violence, or the potential for violence, that everybody needs to understand. While you're at work, you need to pay attention to any obvious changes in your coworker's life or demeanor. Do they seem depressed or withdrawn? Are they talking crazy, mentioning suicide or other acts of violence? Your brain has perceived something that is not right.
The term shooter implies a firearm, but actually that's not one of the key components. An active shooter is an individual who is going in to cause a great deal of harm to a group of people. And they will almost always choose the most vulnerable populations to go after.
They are not a new phenomenon. There is no geographic region that is excluded. Males account for approximately 75% of all offenders. 50% of attacks take place in under 12 minutes. 48% of incidents end by force, whether it's by police or citizens.
I think trying to profile an active shooter is like trying to profile a drunk driver. There are lots of reasons why people drive drunk, and it's really not relevant if you're on the receiving end. I'm more focused on what they do, because what they do has some consistencies.
When you study these active shooter events and read these official investigations, there are some shocking prevailing themes where you could take the name of the active shooter out and just read their profile, and they almost in every case are exactly the same. And the common thread is usually either psychosis or some perceived wrong that someone has done them, and they feel they need to right that wrong by doing the violence.
We do know that some of the best predictors of behavior is what people say they're going to do. So if someone says that they are going to commit a violent act, I would take them at their word and I would call the police. Most people who have violent fantasies do not act on them. Now you start putting things together. They have fantasies, they start writing down those fantasies, then they start collecting firearms and ammunition and come up with a plan of people they're going to kill. That's taking action. Only if a friend happens to pick up on it, someone that they trust, are you likely to have any idea that that's occurring.
When investigators have looked back on active shooter events, several motives seem to be present. One is anger, because nothing seems to be going right in their life. Another is revenge. Perhaps they were recently demoted or fired and want to hurt those who they perceived to have wronged them. Untreated mental illness has also been identified as a motive in acts of violence, as has a conversion to an ideology that preaches violence as a tool for ethnic or religious intolerance. If these pressure points are bubbling on the surface of one of your coworkers, please take action and let someone know about your concerns.